The National Film and Sound Archive of Australia are looking for an LGBTQI plus creator to produce some innovative work. In this episode of Queer Conversation, we will sit down with Chief Curator Gayle Lake to discuss the project. Welcome to LOTL and Queer Conversation. Queer Conversation invites artists, writers, producers, researchers, community leaders and trailblazers to share their story. In the upcoming episode of Queer Conversation, you will meet Gayle Lake, the Chief Curator of the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia, to discuss a fascinating project. Welcome, Gayle, to Queer Conversation. You are the content curator for Australian Film and Sound Archive.
Yeah. So yes, I've been Chief Curator for a few years now. I joined the National Film and Sound Archive about 10 years ago now. And so it's been my privilege to work with, developing an already amazing collection. And what we're trying to do through Queer Vision, this project, is find a practitioner, a creative, who wants to work with us in exploring the collection to create a work for themselves, and indeed for World Pride. And so we're very sort of happy to have World Pride as partners in this, that have, assisted in providing some funding for this particular project. So we're looking for somebody who wants to delve into the collection. We don't know. We don't prescribe what will be the output and the outcome. This is about the collection resonating with an individual who has an idea that they wish to explore, and we will do everything that we can in making that happen.
Tell me just in a very short summary, if you can, what type of collection does the archive have? And then in particular, what archive do you have in the LGBT space?
Our remit is to collect, preserve and share Australia's audiovisual history. And so we have, with that, over 3.3 million items in the collection. We have been collecting and building this collection for a considerable period of time, in many incarnations before the archive was formally created in the mid-80s. So therefore, our archive covers not only things like feature films and TV series, but also home movies and a myriad of other kinds of material. We're about to start formally collecting video games as well. And so with that, we also collect contextualizing material, that is documentations and artifacts that actually reflect what the piece of particular audiovisual material is. We have an incredible amount of, as I said, feature films, documentaries, serials, movie, Sydney Sound, Movie Tone newsreels. We collect all contemporary, as much as we can, news coverage, both through our radio off-air capture program and also our Newscaf program, which collects a slice of life of different parts of Australia. We have contracts with different broadcasters of various kinds, and we also have an arrangement with Screen Australia and all of the state funding agencies to collect any material that they actually fund too. Now, with that, we also collect. We have a marvellous home movie collection, and the nature of home movies has changed considerably over a period of time, where you're looking at small gauge, films of 9.5 or 8mm or Super 8. Home movies these days actually is, usually captured on this, the iPhone or whatever our portable device is in our back pockets. So we collect web series, we collect all kinds of creative output. And so what we're looking at, and the diversity of it all, is incredible. So, within that collection, obviously, we not only look at genre and format, but also diverse representation of Australian life. We have a very a developing Indigenous collection as well, where we're focusing on Indigenous representation and content creators. And we're also looking at the I guess the impact of migrant diaspora within Australia and its impact on Australian life. And I think the thing to say about archives is, yes, whilst it is about the past, archives are very much about the future, because you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've come from. So it's a very creative and diverse collection, and within that, of course, we look at our the queer representation content made by queer practitioners, and certainly within that. We are also looking at content, created by and for women as well, and so it's an incredibly diverse collection. And what we're hoping for out of this particular project is that people will delve into parts of the collection that they didn't know about as well. And we have a team of curators ready to assist people. We have technicians ready to assist whoever the successful creative, or it could be a small group of creators. We don't know, who are banding together. Again, there is such a diverse range of material that in the past, obviously. In the last few years, we've digitally restored Witches and Faggots, Dykes and Poofters, being a significant film, both in the late 70s and still now. And so we've enjoyed, a considerable amount of reaction to that in making that available. And so what this project is about is assisting people into delving into the collection, helping them make sense, and for them to actually develop their creative response to the collection. Much the same that we're doing with another project that we're working with Jazz Money at the moment, called another project called Revision that we're looking at. And Jazz has spent the last 4 or 5 months or so delving into various parts of the collection that is about, essentially an analysis, a decolonisation of the collection that we actually have too. So we're skewing it this way at the moment, and we're very excited to see what we will actually get.
Was it titled Queer Vision last year, or
this is the first? Yeah, this is the first project that we've sort of, we discussed what we actually wanted to do. Revision was actually focused on looking into the collection in terms of our Indigenous holdings and what Indigenous representation is, essentially through a I guess a particular eye. And so I think what we're finding in the past is that we obviously try and collect everything. We don't, as curators, as building the collection, we try and be as diverse as possible, because it's not about us as curators having particular viewpoints or interest. The national collection has to refer to all Australians, be a point of contact for everybody, not only in Australia but also around the world. And so Queer Vision is our first project that we took to World Pride, because we knew the eyes of the world will be on Australia, and it was an opportunity for us to talk to World Pride and say, hey, look, would this be something of interest to you? And they very much were. And so this particular project will be showcased during February next year. Both because we don't know what we're going to get, we don't know how we're going to do it. It could be an online project. It could be a wall projection. It could be something in cinema. It could be something for online. So we're very excited to see what this is going to be, and we believe our role in this is to enable people to really express their idea and to creatively interpret actually what is the national collection and what it means for them.
And there is a deadline looming in, I think it's the 2nd of June, is
Yep.
that right? When submissions have to
That's
be
right,
in?
and we have the process will be that we will have a look and see what comes in on the 2nd of June. For people who want to actually, have a look at and go into a little bit more detail, all of that information's on our website. And we've been social. It's all over our social portals. So so June 2. That's when it closes. We ask for a 4-page CV, no more than that. And we know we've got a lot of talented people out there. But also looking at a 1 to 2 pager in terms of encapsulating what the idea is and what they would like to present.
They don't have to be in Sydney. They can apply from anywhere in Australia?
Absolutely. Within the travel budget, we have allocated money for people to come to Canberra, to visit the archive, to get to know how it works. And it's certainly this is as much about connecting us to people and connecting people to the archive. So we've had a really joyous experience with Jazz on her project, and we're looking for another really interesting and happy experience on this and create something that's really amazing. So we'll go through after June 2. We'll have a look at all of the applications. We have a panel that will assess that, both internal and external, connected to World Pride. And also we'll come to a decision on looking at the scale of the project and what can be delivered, and it may require more conversations with potential applicants who are being shortlisted, but we're looking to move this as quickly as possible because it is a very tight research and development and production period. But we're pretty good at this now, and we think that we can actually deliver something really great by the end of the year. We don't want to put parameters around people. We want to encourage people to embrace the national collection, and I think I don't think Jazz would mind me talking about. She's actually looked at over hundreds and hundreds of items in the collection. So it's our job to facilitate that and to really help the creative. I mean, obviously, we're looking for somebody who has had some level of production experience. That's going to help in terms of previous output. But we really think, we're very, very excited about this, and we're happy and delighted to be working with World Pride.
So once it's shown at World Pride, the producer of the project, can they use this and use it in other areas afterwards? Will they?
Well, look, certainly we will. Work with them. I mean, in terms of international exposure as well, we would obviously, respect all of the, the preferences and thoughts of the creative, but we would also, like to be able to help through our networks and international connections, create links of opportunity as well. So it's depending on what it is. Again, we don't know, how we can do that. But we're very, very happy to be working with the creative and respect, obviously intellectual property.
And there is a budget they can work with, which is I think $20,000. That includes the travel money and any kind of.
The commission is $20,000. We will be funding all of the online, the offline and the online through our technical services teams. you know, at this point in time with Jazz, she is submitting her EDLs, her edit lists. So we're starting to put all those together. We also have a team standing by in terms of rights clearances for material. So we have all of that. There is some travel money outside of that to come to Canberra and to to participate in the online as well, and to do research. And I think part of this project is actually taking down the doors of the vaults and opening them up and showing people what it's actually, how an archive runs too, because that's an education process too. And we're in the process of digitizing, a very, very large analog collection to bring it into a usable and accessible future. Excuse me. And so, that in itself is fascinating, I think, for people. And, I won't nerd out about it right now, but it's a real pleasure to be able to build a collection and then have it actually used by people.
Deadline is the 2nd of June. We will put your website where people can find more information about the submission on the streaming here. In actual fact, could you just spell out your website for our podcast listeners?
So it is nfsa.gov.asu/queer vision, and that will take you to the information.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Gayle, for joining me here at Queer Conversation, all the way from France, in Cairns you are at the moment. So stay safe, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Silky. It's been a pleasure.
If you enjoy Queer Conversation, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. You can also check out our website, LOTL.com, where you will find 30 years of LOTL magazine digitized. My name is Silke Bader, and thank you for your company.